biggest mistake that most contractors make with video is overthinking it. They're looking for that perfect video or a perfect video. In this episode of the Constructing Profits podcast, I sit down with Scott Hurren from OTBX, and we talk about why simple real-world video content can actually be one of the most powerful tools in your business, even if you're short on time, money, or experience. Scott shares how to actually get it done, whether that's a walkthrough of a property on your iPhone or a quick client testimonial or a full media day. You'll learn what type of content works best in social media, which should be on your website and everywhere else. And we're also going to talk about how to consistently create marketing assets to attract better clients. Plus, Scott drops a super valuable tip that everyone that is listening to this podcast could implement this week. You're going to laugh at how simple it is, but it can be hugely impactful. And that one tip alone will make the investment in you listening to this podcast episode worth it. So thanks in advance for checking this out and listening. We wish you all the best. Enjoy the episode. Hi, Scott. Welcome to the Constructing Profits podcast. How are you doing today?
I'm great. How are you? Thanks for having me.
Yeah, well, thanks a lot for joining me today here. We've already had a brief discussion just to get prepped for this, so I'm really excited about the topic that we're going to be able to dive into today, and you're a clear expert, which we'll get to in just one moment. But as you know, we both work with a lot of contractors, and builders, remodelers, companies like that. And the topic of today is really about how they can take advantage of video, what the needs are, how it is actually achievable in their business, and how they can use it to help grow. So just as we're jumping right into that, Scott, if you could just introduce yourself briefly and tell us about who you are and what your company does, and we'll get right into today's topic.
For sure. Well, thank you. Yeah, my name is Scott Hurren. I'm the CEO and founder of a company called Outside the Box. We're a Canadian company, specializes in visual marketing for businesses. So we help businesses storytell through photo and video, which is a pretty broad sort of category, if you will. Mm-hmm. There's a lot of different, obviously, sizes of organizations, lots of different stories to be told. But we have a great team all across Canada that can help companies execute and get into getting video and photo done. So yeah, it's really excited to be here. It's we've had a great experience working with lots of people in the construction industry, contractors to renovators, custom home builders. So excited to kind of share some of my insights and experience with you today.
Well, that's great. Well, thanks again for being here. Well, let's jump right in. So I thought a good place to start would just be on, the execution problem that a lot of contractors would have. And what I mean there is, just really looking at why do contractors struggle for those that do with getting video assets in place and being able to put them to work. I'm sure everyone understands that video is important and they should do it, but yet a lot of companies don't. So what do you if you look at that as a topic, like what do you see as some of the challenges that a lot of contractors have as it relates to video that you come across?
Yeah, well, I can speak to that. It's a huge problem, and it's actually not isolated just to contractors and builders. Most business owners, small, even mid-sized, they struggle with finding the time to fit this into a busy schedule. Mm. So I think that's the first thing is we all recognize, you didn't get into becoming a custom home builder to be a content creator. You didn't get into being a GC to really be, have a content strategy, but you did get into business for the purpose of growing a business, acquiring customers, keeping the customers that you have. And I would say, there's still, as we're doing this podcast, there's no better way than using social media and digital tools to storytelling, get word out about what you do. This industry is also very much word of mouth. So you see sort of on a smaller scale, a lot of word of mouth, right? It's like, Jim did my basement reno and he's great with his team. And then you see the RFP world where we are a government organization and we're looking to build a school and we're putting it to tender, and there's just different worlds, but in the same process, you still have an opportunity to story tell and to do that better. And I think the biggest advantage for anybody who is a business owner in the construction, any business, actually, it's not limited to, the biggest opportunity that they have is the fact that the majority of businesses are not executing on the strategy. So if you look at it that way, don't look at it as something that is problematic. It might actually be your greatest opportunity sitting right in front of you. It's like if 90% of your competitors are not doing video well, really not marketing themselves great, then you're in the 10% if you're executing. And so, I'm happy to share ideas with you today of how people and companies can start executing. What does that execution look like? Where do they go? But it's not it's also a challenge that's very much related to the amount of work that it actually requires. It's not, as easy as a lot of people sometimes think. It's like, oh, I just need to do a video, right? It's like, well, we all have cameras in our phones. You could all pull a phone out and create content today, but it's bigger than that. It's coming up with the strategy, thinking about the ideas, finding the time to do it, editing it. How do you post it? Where do you post it? What are you using for music? How are you, what is the call to action you're trying to do? Are you running ads with it? Which platform are you on? Is this on LinkedIn? Are you speaking on Instagram? Are you doing TikTok dance? Like YouTube? There's so many different pieces of the puzzle that I think the biggest problem is a lot of people just, it's not their lane, right? They build really well and maybe really handy. I'm great at drywall. I'm great at paint. I'm great at reno. I'm great at quoting. I can organize a job site and a team, but this lane is not my strength. And so that's where we come in to kind of say, okay, well, give that to us because we're actually really strong there. And we see a lot of patterns as well in the industry that we can kind of leverage and help educate our clients on as well.
Yeah, well, that's a great overview. And I remember working as a corporate marketing manager years ago, and we'd get asked for a quick video, and there was a time where you could do a quick video, and it was landscape and one version, but those days are gone, right? All the different platforms you mentioned, obviously.
Well, I might add on that. We're actually in a very interesting time where short bite-sized content works really well. Like a 10-second clip, you would think it's like, well, it can outperform sometimes a 1 to 2 minute clip that's really well produced. So we're living in a very interesting time where there's a lot of content coming to the way of the viewer. And I think the other big piece of that is you've got to understand the psychology of where are people consuming the content that you're sending them. There's I always talk about these sort of two psychologies, if you will. One being, you've got to think about the person who is, they're at a conference and they're bored and they pick out their phone and they're just scrolling. They're lying in bed at night next to their spouse who's on the phone doing the same thing. They're checked out on a lazy boy. They're on a bus. They're on the toilet. Sound is off. What are they doing? They're scrolling. They're looking. You're catching them in that orbit, in that time and space. And it's very different than somebody who is saying, I'm going to Google or ChatGPT, and I'm looking for somebody to renovate my basement. And that person, they're much more intentional. They're looking for more. They're going to end up on your website. And when they get there, they want to see, how professional is this company? Is there a hero video that explains to me who they are, why they're great, why I should work with them? Can I hear from their clients? Are there testimonial videos? Is there anything that educates me on the process or answers questions that I may have? They're in a research mode. Very different than the person who's on the social mode, but you can combine the two. And I think there's lanes for both. The people on the social side, if you know what you're doing there, your job is to be the company that gets people thinking of them. So it's like, if you're thinking about doing a basement reno, you think about this company because you're seeing this footage that's coming into your feed all the time and you're liking it and kind of engaging with it. So when the time comes, you're like, that's the company that I'm going to call. So they're doing two different things, but when they get here on the website side and they're doing that research, now they're in a very different space. And we, as a society, are very prone to looking at reviews. Reviews are a big thing. We do it when we travel. We're going on to, travel websites to see what are other people saying about the place that I'm about to go. The TripAdvisors of the world. We're doing it for restaurants. We're going on Yelp. We're doing it on Amazon. We're checking products and reviews. What are people saying? So we live in a review world. So people are, before they pick up the phone to call you and to reach out or fill out your form, they're going to want some sort of validation. And one of those key pieces is definitely storytelling through video.
Yeah, I agree. Yeah, even if someone is referred, yeah, they're going to do some due diligence before they reach out, right?
Totally.
And at that point, all of that company's competitors now have a shot at this prospect as well, right? So
yeah, and I think you've got to remember too, it's the phone call that you maybe don't get. So a lot of contractors we talk to, it's like, how many jobs did you not get because you didn't showcase yourself well enough?
Yeah.
So if someone's searching for a basement reno or a kitchen reno or a custom home build and they didn't find you or they didn't resonate with your content, you didn't get the call, but you don't know that you didn't get the call. Yeah. So how many of those are you losing because you haven't doubled down there? So we really like to try to help our clients double down there. And it's not as hard as they may think. It's hard when you don't know it, but when you do know it and you understand the patterns, we can kind of package that up and be like, okay, these are the building blocks of what you need.
Yeah. Well, the really nice thing that I like personally about working with, the contractor group and builders is when you're able to explain the process, say of planning out video, they understand it because they're doing the exact same thing for their clients, right? So maybe they're the homeowner's handy with tools, but they're not going to just let them go in and start doing things, or they're going to walk them through the process and get a plan, get good foundation, and understand, the utilization of the home, that sort of thing, right? And it's very similar on the video front. And one of your comments made me think of this example when you're talking about short snippet videos, but also the value of reviews and testimonials. We have a client where we did a client interview. So our reno client, we interviewed their homeowner, like the end client, and the conversation was about 13 minutes long. Now, not everyone's going to watch a 13-minute video. However, if I am about to hire this company and spend $300,000, $400,000, $500,000, I would be more likely to be able to spend time watching a bunch of that content to really get a good feel of the the company, their philosophies, how they treat people, how they speak, how they work, those sorts of things. So yeah, you definitely need that.
Well, and what we're doing is a great example, right? There's going to be some people who may listen to an entire 30, 40-minute podcast because they're at the gym, they're in the car, they've got the time, and they're just hearing us. They don't see the visual. Then there's somebody who's on YouTube who may be sitting down and they are going to watch the whole thing. And then we take parts of this interview and slice it into smaller sections where we're talking about an idea, and that one idea, that video can outperform the full length piece. So you just don't know. It's like, but I think it's that's where it gets really exciting in a way where we can talk for 30 minutes and come away with 30 pieces of content or more.
Yeah, exactly. And actually one term, and we haven't spoken about this, but one term that we use a lot with our clients is the term digital asset. And I say I'm very specific about that term, that it's digital, but it's also an asset being something that is continuing to produce value for you on an ongoing basis. So the example I would say is, okay, Scott, we don't want to just build sometimes we have to do a one-off video for maybe a corporate award or who knows what it is. But generally we want to create this asset, that we can put it to work for the next several years, whether that's short form, long form, in our blogs, in emails, in our ads. And I find, when they look at it as an asset, they appreciate a lot more, right? So it's maybe one big day or a couple of days of shooting, but they have all these assets that they now have for years to be able to.
Totally. Well, and the nice thing with video, it's unlike most marketing spend. Photo and video for that matter, they will work for years, right? There's a lot that you can create that doesn't go bad. I mean, hairstyles change and, companies grow and people come and go out of organizations. But if you do it well, a good client testimonial or a good client case study talking about how you came in and helped solve this problem for them can work for a very, very long time. Unlike a lot of the traditional formats of marketing that a business may think of going, well, we want to run, we're putting up, maybe a sign or a billboard on a job site on a construction fence, to say that we're working on the project, or we're doing a banner or what have you. You can't track it. You don't know how many people have seen it. I mean, yes, it's an exposure point. There's no question, but the return on video, when you put it to work, you run it as an ad, you're getting actual metrics. How many people have seen this? And I think that's a big piece too, that people forget. Even if you're a small organization and you create a good piece of content and say it gets 500 views, it's like, how many people would you have to get in front of to get the exposure of 500 views? It doesn't seem like a lot, but it's a lot when you think about it. So if you can get good at that craft where you're becoming the person that is out creating, out producing your competitors, you're in a great position.
Yeah. And on your 500 views point, if you have 500 views of people in your sales process that are seriously considering working with you, that's huge, right? You don't need to have a viral video, but if I can have a handful of people that are going to spend $500,000 on renos with me and they're consuming that, like, I don't care about anyone else watching it, right? And
I think a lot of people don't understand too, like the ability for you to create a piece of content that is geared towards somebody who you don't know, who you've never met, but is in the market for the service that you're looking for. The ability to get that video in front of them now is incredible. When you think of where AI fits into all of this, Meta, YouTube fitting into all this, in Google, where you can, create a piece of content and say, hey, send this to anybody in this catchment who's between this age range. And if they watch 50% or 100% of this video, send them the next video. This is all working in kind of while you're sleeping, but these impressions are happening and the algorithm is way smarter than us to figure out who needs to see this. It's the person who's already searching things about, getting a reno done or custom home building or what have you that we don't know. And it's like the algorithm does, it'll send them so now, that's why when everyone says, oh, my phone's listening to me and it knows, it's really smart. And so if you can be on that train where your content is getting shown to the right person, I don't think there's any better way than that, certainly as we sit here and do this podcast. But I'm a bit biased, I will say.
No, I agree.
No,
it's
also interesting too, Lionel, when we talk about, where this is in a priority for people, when you really step back and if you ask a business owner, where does this fall in the list of priorities for you in your business building, right? So it's what are all the things? Planning, accounting, people management, marketing. Where does this fall? Because a lot of people on the job site are like, well, I'm busy, I just don't have time, da 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 da. So in that mindset, it tends to be at the bottom. But if you step back macro and go, how important is this? It's actually right near the top for a lot of people. And I think when someone can interrupt them in that pattern, which hopefully we're doing today, where we can kind of just say, hey, we're not in the weeds of your business. We're on the macro side and we can tell you looking from it. It's like, this is a no-brainer. You need to be storytelling. You need to get the content out to get more work if you are wanting to grow.
I agree 100%. And we're both business owners and very, very busy, but we found time to do this, right? So it is really important. And I think once you are educating someone on the value, which is the big goal of this podcast today, but the value of video, why it's important, what it can do for your business and how it actually works. Once someone understands that, it's much easier for them to, move it higher on the list and invest on it, right?
The other interesting thing that happens a lot, we hear people all the time, sometimes you get, and tends to be perhaps bigger organizations, maybe more established, where you have, certain mindsets kind of creep in where people are like, my customers, we deal with big builds. We build, liquor stores and schools and da da da. I'm not doing social media. Like there's a difference. The thing I will remind people though is the person who is the buyer, the person who's reviewing the RFP, the person who's inviting you, they are on their phone too. They are just a human being just like us. They are on the same platforms consuming content about whatever it is. So your audience, even if you don't participate on social media, because there's a lot of that where we're like, I'm not good on camera. I don't want to be on camera. I don't believe in social. Your clients are. And they do. Even, it doesn't matter, the highest level decision makers, CEOs of businesses, they're not just on LinkedIn. There's a huge demographic that is on Facebook, Instagram, TikTok, YouTube consumption, massive. So I think it's a narrative that we find sometimes people need to get out of their own way of recognizing that just because you're not consuming doesn't mean your client isn't.
Yeah, no, very good point for sure. Well, this one question could be a whole topic on its own, but where do we find the sweet spot between quality and quantity? You know, you mentioned of all these different platforms and a 10-second video, 13-minute video. You know, do all the videos need to be like TV commercial quality? Should they be Blair Witch somewhere in the middle there? What are your thoughts on that? You know,
so it's a great question. Right now, as you know, we're doing this podcast, we're living in a time where the more authentic, raw, real the video is on social, the better it tends to perform. The people are going to be way more interested in unique than they will be in polished. So as somebody that's in, you know, the construction world, you're coming across unique things all the time. You're going to come across, you know, things that you may not even realize are unique because you've been in it for so long, or you know it, you don't even think about it. But it's like, you just know how it is. You open a wall, you're going to find something you weren't expecting. That thing you're not expecting, that thing you don't see every day, you need to document that, because the more unique that problem is, the more fascinated people are to learn about it. And not every piece of content has to be about driving a lead. You know, I think there's a big misconception of like, well, I'm doing videos so I want more leads to grow my business. It's like, right. But you can actually win leads on a longer term basis by creating content consistently where people are thinking about you and you become their go-to because you've been doing it very well. So if you put out content, not looking for anything in exchange, you're not looking for a lead, you're not looking for engagement, you're just here to educate and put it out, that content will do very well. Now, when they come to your website, as I mentioned earlier, the quality here matters a little bit more, because here, the person is now on your site. They're thinking about reaching out to you to build a custom home for them. What do you think they want to see? Professionalism. Now, the professionalism that they see there is super important. They're going to want to see quality of your work. They want to meet the owner, meet the team. You know, they want to hear from your clients what's working, what's not working for them. You know what I mean? So take a pain point and how you guys solved it. So that is a place where I believe the professional matters, because it'll elevate you. And you could be a brand new, like if I was a brand new company, and I'll pick on a painter, because we actually was having a conversation with a painter the other day. Young guy starting a new painting business, right? He's like new, doesn't have any clients. Like, just go and create stuff about painting. The most simple thing, rolling a paintbrush on a wall. There's something very satisfying about that. It's like using a pressure washer on a deck. People will watch it for hours. That content will do well. Just a very simple paint, but you can get really creative. You could be, hey, you know what? We want to see if we can find somebody. We'll paint a room for you for free today, you know, or maybe we're going to go and do just something, you know, help them pick a paint color at the Home Depot. Raw content like that. I would do a lot of creative different things. Low budget, shot with your phone. Don't need a team. You can use ChatGPT, use the AI tools to come up with creative ideas of what you could do that's inexpensive. It'll help you there. But I would also at the same time be creating some more evergreen content. I do a media day. That's what our company does. We come spend the day with you and do that. Meet the owner. What do you get? Why did you get into the business? Tell the story. Talk about your satisfaction guarantee. Talk about the process. When we show up, we wear booties, we put down drop sheets, whatever your thing is that sets you apart. Create that. So when people are coming to the site, all of a sudden you've elevated the level of professionalism against your competitors before you've even done a job. Perhaps you know, you can really show sort of your care. So I think, you know, we're living in a quantity is more important than quality world, because quality is very subjective. First of all, there's no such thing as a perfect video. People are like, it needs to be perfect or I'm not putting it out. There's no perfect. Perfect is all in the eye of the person viewing it. And you who is in it will typically be the most critical of that video than anybody else. So I always tell people the best video is the one that gets out, that you just put it out. You know, if you're not sure, if you're like, it could be better. Maybe if I lost some more weight, maybe my voice, if I practice, I had too many ums and ahs, and they don't put it out. You're better to put it out and do another one tomorrow and get better look at it as like a routine of going to the gym. You're just getting better. You're working that muscle every day. The more you do it, the more comfortable you will get, the better the output will get. But that output can be, it's that idea of whip out your phone and document the moment. Yeah. And the more that you can learn some of the strategies, some of the science of what's working in social, the better. For example, hooks. Hooks are super important. A lot of people don't even know what a hook is, but a hook is, that first 3 seconds of a video. Can you hook somebody to want to watch what it is? So there's lots of different hooks. Visual hook. If you do something right off the gate that's kind of different, got you for the hook. A reveal hook. Stick around. I'm going to show you something. So for example, a verbal with a stick around would be, I've been building homes, custom homes for 10 years. I've never seen anything like this. Come, I'm going to show you. Now I'm hooked. What are you going to show me? What is this unique thing? And the longer you can kind of drag out the story, but keep people around, the better. So that's your creative kind of storytelling. But that comes with, there's a unique thing here that I'm seeing in this project. I'm going to grab my phone and I'm going to story tell this in a way that is very interesting to people. It educates them, but it also entertains them in a way. That is a skill. And the more that you can do that and get comfortable with that and kind of get out of your own way, the better. I always think of the business too. Like if you put out a video every day, you'd have 365 videos working for you a year from now. Yeah. But if you put out, one a week, you've got 50. So it's like, well, guarantee you're going to have better odds if you're consistent. But that consistent does not need to be long, drawn out, perfect lighting, perfect anything.
Yeah, all great points. I'm going to dig into a couple of things you said. One was the term document, and that can be a hang up sometimes as people, people have talked to like, well, what are we going to do a video about, right? But if you're actually documenting what you're doing, that's one way to make it easy. And we talked about this before, but we have a luxury timber frame home builder as a client, and they had some video of a helicopter delivering timbers to the cottage lot. Like that's not something everybody gets to be involved in, right? So those behind the scenes type situations.
But I'll give you an example there. Yeah. I'll give you an example there because everybody would typically go, "Ooh, we're delivering this lumber by a helicopter." There's the video. It's like no. There are dozens of videos about this, right? So it's like, talk to me about the way that you strap the lumber to the helicopter. Micro detail, right? It's like, so when you tie, I'm making this up, I don't know this case, when you tie the logs, you need a certain strength that is a certain grade. That little piece of content about the strap that ties to the helicopter, super important. Yeah. What happens on the landing site? How did we pick this site? How do we coordinate the day? Interview the pilot. Have you ever done this before? What's the weirdest thing you've ever dropped off, delivered? What's our safety plan in the event that there's so many micro pieces that I think it's an exercise for the person who's in it to recognize this is not so much, hey, we got one video about the kitchen reno and then we're going to do one about the basement. It's like, talk to me about your technique for using this screw or using this piece of whatever. You know it all the time. It's like, I would never do a kitchen without doing this little thing that we always do. That little tiny piece, that's a video. That's a piece of content. Yeah. When I hear about a helicopter dropping something off, I'm like, no, that's not one piece. Yeah. That is almost like a series of things that go into that. And if you're smart, you're following it from loading it, it's flying out, you're in the helicopter with somebody, we've got some cameras there telling that story, we're landing, we're transporting, how does this whole thing work? The company this is another maybe a nice segue for us too. The company that is delivering, the helicopter company, great opportunity for you to share in that storytelling. They've got a story for their business. You've got a story for your business. Why don't we double up that story, share the resources, one camera, one day, and document for both? This happens a lot in construction. We're actually dealing with a project right now where we're working with the developer. It's actually a business that is having buildings built for them, and they want us to go out every month and capture drone content of their sites. But the GC that's building the sites also wants content. So it's like, well, we're already there. Why don't we just share in what we're doing? We don't need to fly it twice. We can just take the content and change the messaging. Well, wait a second. But there's also the forming guy. The forming guy is not the GC. Well, the forming guy also needs it. Now the window guy and the steel company, they all need. And so especially in construction, you've got all these layers of trades, architects, the builders, the GCs, all these different levels, that if you're smart and you can combine them together to say, hey, we're doing a project, we're going to showcase, this kitchen. You're our cabinet provider, you're our countertop provider. Do you want us to do a piece while you're there? Let's share some of the costs of some of the production. Beautiful. But thinking that through that way, it just requires a little bit of foresight. And I think a lot of what happens in this industry is there's a lot of last minute, oh shoot, we should be doing a video, as opposed to putting it into the plan. And so I think the more you can put it into your project management plan to be like, hey, today's the day that we're craning in this amazing piece. Let's make sure we got video there for that. We want to document these milestones. So yeah.
Well, excellent. That's a great segue for my next question. And just to finish off on this last point, I hope for everyone watching that this can be one of the takeaways from this podcast. And I had shared your idea, Scott, with one of our remodel clients on Friday, actually, and I had asked them. I said, we did a video shoot, but how many sub trades would you usually have? And they said between 12 and 15. So maybe 12 to 15 companies aren't ready or willing or able to participate, but if we can get 2 or 3 or 4 of the other like core trades that they typically work with, that's again a great way. And we'll talk about what your services are in a few moments, but that's a great way to share the costs there and provide value for a lot of companies that all have that relationship together. So great point. So jumping into my next question here, and you touched on it just in your last point, what are some of the key types of content that a contractor should have? So if they are doing a day or a couple of days, shooting with you, what would be great? Let's assume they don't really have much to start off with. So they're just getting into video. What would be some like must-have?
Yeah, so there's a few things. So when we start working with a client on the video production, typically we always like to try to do a day. We find a content day works really well for executing a lot of things in a condensed period of time. So you're way more efficient when it comes to cost management and execution. If we can say, Thursday is our day. We're filming from 9 to 4. We're going to do a whole day. We're going site to site to site. A videographer can roll with you in the truck. We can interview your staff at your office. We can be on site. We can interview some clients, but everybody's looking good. The trucks are clean. We know it's happening. It's a lot more. And there's so many micro stories that if we're with you for a whole day, we come away with a boatload of things. So we, if I was starting out, there's a few things, obviously some of them I've already touched on. Let's hear from a couple of clients. Let's go to site. We need what's called B-roll footage of your team in action working. And it can be anything from unloading a truck to nailing floorboards to working in an office with drawings, a boardroom meeting, walking into meet with a client. These things are all great. Interactions on video are always powerful. I think anything with people, we definitely see, especially on social media, anything that humanizes a brand and shows the people behind it, the better. And those are not just the owners of the business or the lead management team. It's the people doing the work, the people that are, or the person receiving the work. There can be a lot of great stories that can be told, and sometimes just really simple questions. Why did you choose us? Why as a client, why did you choose our company to do your kitchen reno? And let them answer the question. What have you liked best so far? Or talk on a pain point. So there's lots of different things that you can do. And then you can get right down to the micro stuff where I would almost suggest you don't need a team like ours to come in. Yeah. You've got a phone in your pocket, pull it out. You see that unique thing about we ripped open the wall and there was this dead bird, film it. That's content. It's content. It doesn't have to be polished. People love that stuff. They would much rather the human element. I think I was talking with a friend of mine who owns a demolition company the other day, and we were talking a little bit about social and what he could do. And I said, people are going to be more interested, not so much because you think, oh, demolition, I could put out a camera and we'll watch this building fall down. And yeah, that's cool. But the thing that actually I think people really like is the walk me through the place inside before you're about to demo it. Because it's like those abandoned homes, abandoned malls, abandoned schools, hospitals. They're kind of creepy in their own way, but there's this whole kind of process that goes on. It's not just about the demolition. And so if you break down what's actually going to happen with the demolition, but you've got a beautiful industry for a reveal. Hey, we're about to destroy tear down this century home that's been here for 100 years. It's been vacant. Let's go inside. I'm going to show you before we tear it down. I'm hooked. I want to see like the inside of this rotten place. You know what I mean? So I think just having an understanding of like, what is it that you need to do? Not everything needs to be a case study, FAQ answering, a perfect kind of piece. Those pieces have their place. Yeah. But on the day-to-day, that's huge. And I would also suggest get your team creating content. You have an army. Most people in this business have an army of people. It's like, well, I've got, my team, my crew is out doing their thing. Great. Get them documenting. Teach them what you need. Maybe it's like, I just want you to put up your camera in the corner and put a time lapse on of you laying tile on this floor. It's a piece of content. And it may be feel out of place. It's like, well, yesterday I was talking about, painting, and today we're laying tile, and tomorrow it's a kitchen, and then it's a bathroom. But it's content, and it's exposure for the brand. And if you can weave in a little hook here or there, beautiful. You want to get really creative. I mean, we've seen some, we're seeing some really unique ways where you can pick up a viral video. We've probably seen these. It's like, one that comes to mind, there's a bunch of people, they're carrying a casket out of a church, and then the bottom drops out of it, and body rolls down the hill. Well, you could take that piece and pick it up. So you run it, and then it's like, okay, you're rolling. It's like, hey, come and see me for your kitchen needs or whatever. There's ways that you can connect if you want to get really uber creative. And I think we're starting to see more and more businesses that if they really want to stretch that muscle, they can do really, really well with it. Yeah. It's not for everybody though.
But for sure. And, you made a comment earlier that, people didn't become a contractor to become a content creator.
Correct.
But, the reality is that, the world that we're in, people and companies are going to be needing to embrace this in order to survive, right? Because, those that do will be reaping rewards.
I think so. And I think there's some companies that come to mind. Like there's a pool guy, and I apologize, I don't know their name. We don't work with us, but there's a pool company in the US who they just dominate on YouTube. You type in anything about pools and pool maintenance, chemicals, how to open, how to close. They have got so much micro content, every single little thing, like how to put the liner on, how to what this chemical does. And so you type in anything about pools, they are the company that comes up, and it's part of their strategy. There's some businesses have done a really, really good job of just kind of positioning themselves as the industry expert of, they know their stuff and they're not afraid to put it out. They're not looking for perfect quality, but it's also part of their routine, part of the day to day. And I think that's a huge part of it. You've got to find a way to prioritize it and fit it in. And a video crew can help you. I always tell people we're almost like a personal trainer to businesses in a way where you have the gym membership. Everybody's got the gym membership. You all have it in your pocket. It's the camera on your phone. That is your gym membership. The difference is you don't go. You're not going to the gym. Yeah. But if somebody was to hold you accountable, hey, I'll see you on Thursday. We're filming on Thursday. Yeah. Let's be ready. What are we doing? We're going to execute. Now all of a sudden you show up and it gets done. And so for a lot of businesses, that's half of it. And so we have a product we call a media day or a content vault, where we come for a whole day. And we tell our customers, like, let's just see you every 90 days. Come every 90 days. It's seasonal changes. The business is kind of different, and document everything. But I love the commercial construction space. It's beautiful because you always have new product. It's not like going to a store or a dental office, for example. Like we can do videos for a dental office or a store, but it doesn't really change. Once you've shot it, it's like, okay, that's pretty much it. But in construction, this world changes all the time. You got new projects, new things. There's so much storytelling there.
For sure. And you just used the term I wanted to come back to and dig into as well. You've mentioned probably the word you've said the most so far is storytelling or term, right? Mm-hmm. And I don't want that to be missed in its importance, by anyone watching. So if we could just take a couple of moments, what does, and it may sound obvious, but what does, in your opinion, storytelling mean, and how does that apply to video, and why should a contractor care about that? So like, why is storytelling so important?
Yeah, I think, well, we live in we're just geared as human beings for stories, right? And a story has a lot of methodology. There's something to kind of hook you, an intro, there's a middle and an end and a conclusion. If you can look at your content that way, it's a bit of just a way to think about it. So right now, social media platforms reward content for watch time. How long their goal, the social platforms want to keep viewers on the platform as long as they can. So if you've got a video that's a minute long, but you can keep people for that whole minute to watch the whole thing, the platform rewards you. And you'll see it. If you go and start looking for that now, watch as you see the media that comes up in your feed. Why is that those pieces work? And there's storytelling all around us. We're seeing it with different things from, some of the stuff that's going on in our world where we're analyzing, videos from different angles of certain things, but people are framing stuff in such a way where it keeps the viewer focused and kind of captivated on the outcome. Yeah. And that outcome doesn't need to be, hey, we started a kitchen and let me show you the finished product. It's like, no. It's everything from the story of like, this person just bought this type of tile and I've never seen anything like this. Let me show you how this actually looks on the floor. Now I've got you hooked. Okay. Now there's a shot of bringing the tile in, laying it down, setting it out, maybe positioning, but you've hooked me to watch and see a result. This is one example, but that level of storytelling, being like, hey, here's how we do it. Here's our process is super, super important. So everything is a story. Everything's a story. Yeah. From, hey, you're in the truck with your crew and you're picking up a donut order. Be creative. What are the 12 donut types that you put in the box? Have fun with it. It doesn't have to be it doesn't have to be about construction. It doesn't have to be what you're doing. It's like, hey, today it's, we're ordering a dozen donuts for my crew, which, and put it out as a story on your social, get people to engage on it. Anything that you can make the content be about the person who is viewing. What would you do in this case? Involve them into the content. Super powerful. So yeah, I think, the stories are all around us. The challenge is that most people in the business almost know the story that they don't even realize it. It's like, but there's so many parts, especially in, the way that you do things day in and day out that are part of what makes you really good at your craft. The way that you install floor, the way that you quote a job, I think of net zero as an example. Like it's not a small thing. It's like, talk about net zero. What is a net zero home? What's that mean? What are the advantages for people? All types of storytelling, but in micro content. Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Do you ever come across companies that are concerned about sharing their secret sauce, so to speak? Like, are they ever worried about, saying what their build process is or how they go about building a net? Because they're like, oh, we don't want someone else to know what we do. Do you come across that often?
Yeah, sure. All the time. The time. I think there's definitely that of kind of we don't want our competitors to copy us, but I don't know. I think it's a muscle. The more that you can be vulnerable and put it out there, knowing that your competitor's got a lot of work to do. If they want to do it, go do it. It'll force you to be better if you're always innovating and always leading the way. Yeah. So let them. 90% of them won't. They won't pick it up. Even if they see you, it's like, oh, if I start doing this as a strategy, are they going to steal my strategy? Steal it. Go see if they can steal it. Like, I don't know. At this day and age now, like we're 2026 as we film this, like everything for the most part, you can find it on AI.
Exactly.
It's all on chat. It's like, oh, you want my secret list of creative content ideas? Well, GPT can pull that out for you.
Exactly. Yeah.
It's not secret anymore. But yeah, I think there's always that kind of, and it's the how am I going to be perceived? What are people going to think of me? Will this resonate? Ooh, I was talking to a real estate agent the other day. She's like, yeah, I dropped an F-bomb on one of my pieces of content for the first time ever. And she's like, I really didn't know. And I asked a whole bunch of people, should I do it? Should I post it? Because a lot of my demographic is older. And she's like, it's been so well received, that it makes her authentic and real. And it was appropriate in what she was trying to convey. Yeah. And it worked. So I think it's just that try it. You might be surprised.
Yeah. No, excellent point. And our team jokes about this every once in a while, but we had a video for one of our longstanding clients, and the owner actually was horrified by it. She thought at first that it didn't fit the brand and so on, but it turned out that it was actually, and it wasn't terrible. It was just different than what she had expected and was used to, but it turned out to be the top producing ad of all of the ads that we had. And then she also had a whole bunch of clients reaching out saying, oh, that was such a funny or engaging video, and she wasn't getting that from other content. So it was a type of thing that, and we were able to take that learning and then make it so she was happy about it and still get those results. But a perfect example of put things out there, and the data, the market will tell us what they like. Exactly.
You just don't know. And sometimes it's a video you think is going to do the worst that just goes. But it's the combination of it all. You put it all together as part of a strategy, you'll win.
Well, very good. All right. Well, I want to be careful of your time here. We've got through lots of great topics so far. So I just wanted to ask a couple of maybe closing questions here. But do you see one myth around video that you wish builders and contractors and others would forget? Like, is there sort of one thing that really comes up a lot that you're just
the perfect video? No longer the perfect video. Yeah. We touched on it earlier. There's no such thing as the perfect video. I think if you can just remind yourself of that as you're doing it, there's no perfect. Perfect is in the eye of the beholder. We can create this podcast. Some people are gonna be like, that was the best podcast on your show. Other people will be like, that podcast was terrible. Yeah. But you put it out anyway,
For sure. Great tip there. So if a builder only had time, and obviously we want to have more than this, but let's say they only had time for one video this month. So it's the beginning of February right now. They could only do one, and obviously we'd be working on getting more. What should it be? Or is that something you could even say? But is there anything that comes to the top of the list for you? And again, looking at someone that maybe this is new, a video is new to their company, let's say, or newer. Yeah.
I guess if it was one video a month and you didn't have any, I would start with my phone, and I would document little pieces every single day, just of little things that are going on. And it can be the simplest thing, a truck rolling up to a site, walking into a house, a finished product, something being delivered. And I'd collect all this content for a few weeks, and then I'd put my phone, might even do it in the car. It doesn't have to be elaborate. You don't need a studio. You don't need a perfect light setup. Cars are good because there's a lot for people to look at. The sound quality is good. Just mount it on your dash and speak from the heart, but speak from the heart in a way that you storytell. Dump right into it, and then keep it nice and short. Think about your main message, but it's almost like sell yourself. Who are you? Why should people work with you? What do you do? That one would be really good. And then I'd maybe overlay some of the B-roll of the stuff that you've took with it, throughout the month, and put it all together. An easier one, as I think this through, an easier one might be put the phone on your dash, film yourself, grab a second phone, and call one of your clients on speakerphone. Film you having a conversation with the client where you're asking them, how did everything go with the job we did for you last, and let them just speak. They don't know that they're being recorded. It's not hey, can I call you and do a video with you? None of that. You call and you let the client speak from the heart about their experience with your company and your team. Would you recommend us? Why would you recommend us? What stood out for you? Let them speak. And then at the end of the conversation, you tell them, hey, I've been recording this. Would you mind if I used this as maybe one of the videos that I put out about a client recommendation? And there's a good chance they're going to be like, yeah, no problem at all. Beautiful. Now you have an ad. You've got an endorsement. Trim it. So you don't want, it's very important. Seconds matter. Fractions of seconds matter. Space in between sentences should be cut and deleted. If you watch a video that hooks you really well, spoken word often is like back to back. It's tight. Ums and ahs are kind of out of it. We get to the point, like get us to the point, what people need to, of what they're saying. Take that video, run that video as an ad to anybody in your community that you're looking to target. Like you've got an endorsement from a third party. People love that kind of stuff. Raw, real, and authentic. Does that help?
Awesome. Yeah, it's great. You've been an outstanding guest. That actually answered my last question, which is going to be what's one simple action a contractor could take to this week to move things forward. And that is, well, again, take some effort, but it's a simple process that would be super valuable and a great digital asset for them to have for years to come. And what I really like about that is there's some people, no matter how jacked they are about working with, this builder, you put them on camera and they could change, right? And they're like, oh, I really enjoyed working with builder AB, and it just does, it comes across as inauthentic, right? Or scripted, where this, I really like that. It's just a real conversation, speaking with the client. So that's a super
totally
right on. Great. Well, is there anything else that you can think of that, while we have people's attention, that they should really know about video, or maybe one last, call to action of why they should take this serious? Anything?
Yeah, I think one piece that comes to mind for me is just remember that your competitors are not executing, and you have a choice to be. And if you are, you're a 10%er, and you'll win. Every master was once a disaster. Everyone
I love it.
Learned, and they started at the bottom. Everyone, some of your best, the Mr. Beast, Gary V's of the world, they all have cringe videos from when they first started, but they're still out, and but it's not the way that you do it now, but they started. And so starting is definitely key. Just get out of your own way. Nobody cares about your double chin. No one cares about your voice. You don't need to lose 10 pounds to do it. You don't need perfect. There's no perfect. Yeah. We're in a quantity over quality game. Quality is super subjective. And I think if you remember, you weren't born knowing how to drive a car. You weren't born knowing how to ride a bike. You weren't born knowing how to create social content to win. But in 2026, there is no excuse. There's no excuse. You have everything to teach you how to do it more than ever. It used to be go to Google and figure it out. Now you got AI as your partner. Yeah. Teach me what to do. This is the type of phone that I have. This is my business. This is who I'm trying to attract. It'll give you step by step ideas of what to do. And I think if you're stuck, and you need some really good evergreen content, you call OTBX outside the box. We're happy to help. That would be another closing point. I mean, that's our main job, is helping you get comfortable, helping you execute, helping you come away with a lot of content in a very short period of time, and helping you win. So yeah, I think between us, if they're hearing this podcast, it's not by accident. Or if they're seeing this video, it's not by accident. I honestly believe that. I think a lot of things show up at the right time when it's meant to show up for you. And hopefully, if you're hearing like, oh man, I was meant to hear this message today, take action, lean in, reach out to either of us, and let's see what we can do to help you grow and step into it. So there'll be a few ideas.
No, well, awesome closing comments there. Yeah. So thank you so much. And we'll make sure, that your, LinkedIn profile or your website are all in the show notes, so we can direct people to you. And one of the things that I just wanted to highlight that I really like, about our, relationship as well, and the potential here is, for all of the companies that are listening to this podcast, whether we're working with them or you're working with them or not, it's nice that, say someone has an agency that they're working with, they may be great at, lead generation, but they may not have the capabilities of being an expert at, video production, right? So
Sure.
even with that company that's helping you out, it'd be very easy for them to bolt you folks on, and you come out and help them tell their story. So I hope that's another takeaway for anyone watching this here today.
Yeah, that's great. Thanks so much for having me on. It's been a pleasure.
All right. Thank you very much for joining me today. It was great. And look forward to our next conversations. Onward and upward.
Good. Thank you.
All right. Thanks.
As a business owner, do you ever get the feeling that something is just off in your business? Sometimes it's hard to put your finger on it, but it's almost like we're just getting half of the story. Well, that's exactly what it's like to not have a strategic sales and marketing strategy in place. If you would like to have a team dive into your business, find all of the things that you're doing really well at, areas for improvement, what order of importance all of those action items should be in to be able to impact revenue and profit in your business, please go to constructingprofits.com and book a strategic consult today. Finally, I'd just like to say thank you very much for listening to the Constructing Profits podcast. Assuming you found a lot of value today, and I really hope that you did, please share it with a fellow contractor who's looking to aggressively grow their business. We'd love to have a conversation with them. Now, in this episode, we shared actionable insights. We're not saying things just for shits and giggles. We want you to be able to get some nuggets and actually apply them to your business right now. So think about this past episode. What was the one thing that you could implement in your business today, and go and do it? Okay? So let's build strong, let's build smart, and let's build a profitable business. We'll look forward to seeing you in the next episode.